The smartphone screen flickers in the dim light of a winter evening. Elena Morozova scrolls through her Instagram feed, looking at birthday wishes for her daughter. 15 years old. Alice is 15, and her father is still not around. The January wind howls outside. The house is warm and cozy, but Elena's heart aches with familiar pain. Every year on this day, she remembers how she dreamed that Alexei would make it back in time for his daughter's birth. He didn't make it. He didn't come back. He disappeared in the Chechen mountains forever. The algorithm recommends a new account, and Elena mechanically clicks on the profile. The avatar is blurry, but something familiar makes her pause. The first photo loads slowly. Her heart stops. On the screen, a man is hugging a young woman and a 3-year-old child. The sea, the sun, happy faces. But most importantly, the man's face. The same eyes, the same scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood injury, the same smile she remembered by heart. Alexei. The name slips from her lips in a whisper. The smartphone trembles in her hands. It's impossible. Alexei died 15 years ago in battle. His body was never found, but the military registration office issued a certificate. She wore mourning clothes. She raised her daughter alone, and he's alive. Alive and happy with another family. Elena takes a screenshot and enlarges the image. There is no doubt. It is her husband, the very same Alexei Morozov she had been waiting for all these years. The one who was supposed to return for the birth of their daughter. The one who swore eternal love in his last letter. The caption under the photo reads, "My family is my fortress." The date is 2 months ago. Alice is sleeping in the next room. Tomorrow she will go to school and tell her classmates about her birthday presents. And Elena will think about how to explain to her daughter that her father is alive but has chosen another family. Her fingers frantically scroll through the profile. There are many photos, dated from 2015 onwards. At first, Alexei is alone, in a cafe, on the beach, driving a car. Then a woman appears. Blonde, about 30, beautiful. In 2020, the first photo with a child appears. Private entrepreneur. City of Sochi. Actively seeking. That's the information in the profile. The last item is particularly cynical. The photo shows a happy family, but the status says seeking. Elena frantically searches for contacts, but the phone number is hidden. There's only a nickname in the messenger app. Should she write to him? What could she say to a man who had declared himself dead? An old clock ticks in the kitchen. It's midnight. Her daughter's birthday is over, and Elena's life has been turned upside down. 15 years of grief, loneliness, and loyalty to a dead husband. And all this time, he was building a new life. But why? For what? And most importantly, what should she do now? Elena takes an old photo from the table. Their wedding picture from 2008, young, happy, in love. He kisses her on the cheek. She laughs. It seemed like it would last forever. She compares it to the screen of her phone. The same face, only older. The same hands that once gently caressed her belly, feeling the kicks of her future daughter. The same lips that whispered words of love. And now those lips are kissing another woman. Tears well up in her eyes, but Elena holds them back. Elisa must not see her mother broken. For 15 years, she's been strong for her daughter, and she will continue to be. But first, she needs to find out the truth. In the morning, Elena goes to her mother-in-law. Anna Mikhailovna, 72, lives on the next street. After her son disappeared, she declined rapidly, but her mind remained clear. "Anya, look at this." Elena shows her the screenshot. The old woman takes the phone with trembling hands. She is silent for a long time, staring at the photo. Then she clutches her heart. My God. It's Alyosha. He's alive. Her voice breaks. Elena hugs her mother-in-law around the shoulders. What should we do, Mom? Go to him. Demand an explanation. He must come back to his family. But Elena understands that it's not that simple. 15 years have passed. Alexei has a new life, a new family. And her? What can she offer him? A provincial teacher with a grown-up daughter. No, first she needs to understand how this is even possible. How can a living person be listed as dead? And why has he been in hiding all these years? Elena obtains a report on her husband's disappearance and goes to the local police officer. Sergei Nikolaevich Volkov, the local police officer, is an experienced man. In 30 years of service, he has seen everything. But when Elena shows him the photos, even he is at a loss. Maybe he just looks like him. There are so many Morozovs. Look closer, Elena says, taking out old family photos. There's a scar above his eyebrow, a birthmark on his neck. It's him, Sergei Nikolaevich. The local police officer compares the photos and shakes his head. If this is true, it's serious. We need to go to the prosecutor's office. This is beyond my jurisdiction. The district prosecutor's office. The office of investigator Marina Vasilyevna Kovaleva. A woman of about 50 with a sharp gaze and gray hair pulled back into a strict bun. 20 years in the investigation department have taught her not to be surprised by human behavior. Tell me everything from the beginning, she says, turning on the tape recorder. Elena tells her story about her husband's last letter, about the visit from the military with the sad news, about the certificate of disappearance, about 15 years of loneliness, and about yesterday's discovery on Instagram. The investigator carefully studies the documents and photographs. If the examination confirms that this is the same person, we are dealing with desertion and fraud, possibly also with document forgery. What about the family? The other one? That's not your concern. First, let's establish his identity. Then, we'll deal with the consequences. Marina Vasilyevna opens an investigation and sends the photos for examination. Dmitry Orlov, a forensic expert with 20 years of experience, receives the materials on the same day. A day later, the conclusion arrives. The biometric characteristics of the person in the Instagram photos match those of Alexei Morozov with 97.3% accuracy. Conclusion: there is a high degree of probability that the individuals are identical. Now there is no doubt Alexei Morozov is alive. The investigator sends requests to all relevant authorities: the Sochi Passport Office, the Tax Service, the Migration Service, banks. The result is staggering. Alexei Morozov has indeed been registered in Sochi since 2014. He has his own business, pays taxes, rents an apartment. He lives like a normal, law-abiding citizen. But how is this possible? In 2013, he applied to the Sochi Passport Office for a duplicate passport due to the loss of documents in a natural disaster. He provided a doctor's note stating that he had lost his memory as a result of a head injury. The note, as an expert examination later showed, was fake, but it worked at the time. Since 2014, Alexei has been living a normal life. He works and dates women. In 2019, he met Irina Semenova, a manager at a travel agency. In 2021, they had a son, Maxim. The most cynical discovery? Alexei told Irina that he was a widower. He lost his first wife in a car accident. So he's not just a deserter, says investigator Kovaleva. He's also a pathological liar. But when investigators arrive at the address in Sochi, the apartment is empty. Neighbors say the tenants moved out a week ago. They left in a hurry, even leaving the furniture behind. Irina Semenova is found through the bailiff service for alimony payments. The young woman is in shock. Her 3-year-old son is crying, not understanding where his father is. He said he was going on a business trip. Irina tells the investigator. He promised to be back in a week. That was 10 days ago. His phone isn't answering. Alexei has disappeared, just like he disappeared 15 years ago from the Chechen mountains. Only this time, he is hiding from justice. A new theory emerges. Maybe it's not Elena's husband, but an imposter, a man using someone else's documents to create a new identity. But the experts are adamant. It's the same face. The search reaches a dead end. The addresses are fake, the phones are turned off, the bank cards are blocked. The Instagram account has been deleted. Alexei Morozov has disappeared for the second time. But investigator Kovaleva is not used to giving up. 20 years of work have taught her that every criminal leaves a trace. You just have to find it. And the trace is found where no one expected it. Meanwhile, Elena tries to explain to Alice what is happening. How do you tell a 15-year-old girl that the father she thought was a dead hero is actually a living coward? Mom, is that really Dad? Alice asks, looking at the printed photos. Yes, sweetheart, it's him. Then why didn't he come back to us? Elena doesn't know what to say. How can she explain to a teenager that sometimes adults do despicable things? That love can turn out to be a lie, that heroes can become traitors? We'll find out, Alice. We definitely will. At this time, investigator Kovaleva receives information from the tax service. Alexei Morozov registered as a sole proprietor in the field of consulting services, but was actually involved in reselling cars. He sold one car to Gennady Smirnov, a resident of Volgograd, in January of this year. Smirnov tells investigators on the phone, I bought a Toyota Camry from him. He seemed suspicious. He was in a hurry and asked to be paid in cash, but the car is good and the documents are in order. Importantly, Smirnov remembered Alexei's license plate number, a gray Lada Vesta which he had driven to the meeting. The Pautina system, a network of surveillance cameras on the roads, finds the number. The car was last spotted on the M4 Don Highway, heading towards Rostov-on-Don. The trail is hot, but where does the road from Rostov lead? To Ukraine? To Kazakhstan? To Georgia? There are many borders, and it is impossible to check them all. And time is working against the investigation. Every hour of delay gives Alexei new opportunities to escape. New documents, a new name, a new life. But investigator Kovaleva knows that sooner or later, the truth will come out. Alexei Morozov betrayed his family once, and he will answer for it. Elena calls the prosecutor's office every day to find out about the investigation. Anger gives way to pain, pain to determination. For 15 years, she believed in love. Now she believes in justice. But will they find the fugitive, and what will happen if they do? Who could have done this? The answer will shock you. Part 2. Hunting a Ghost. The web system detects a gray Lada Vesta at the entrance to Rostov-on-Don. Time: 2:43 p.m. Camera on Moskovsky Prospect. Alexei Morozov is behind the wheel, his face hidden behind sunglasses. Investigator Kovaleva coordinates the operation from Pskov. Her colleagues in Rostov join the search, but the city is large and the car is ordinary. Finding one person among a million is a difficult task. Check all the hotels, hostels, and rental apartments. Marina Vasilievna orders. He has to be staying somewhere. But Alexei is smarter. 15 years of living in secret have taught him to be cautious. He abandons the car on the outskirts of the city and disappears into the crowd. The cameras lose track of him. Meanwhile, in Pskov, Elena is suffering from insomnia. Every night, she looks through photos on Instagram, trying to understand when her husband turned into a stranger. Elisa sleeps poorly and eats poorly. Her classmates whisper behind her back. The news of her father's resurrection has spread throughout the village. "Mom, if they find him, will he come back to us?" her daughter asks. Elena doesn't know. Does she want him to come back after 15 years of lies? Meanwhile, the investigation receives new information. The bank provides details of Alexei's latest card transactions. A large sum was withdrawn on January 20th in Sochi before his disappearance. 500,000 rubles. Where did a car dealer get that kind of money? Kovaleva requests a detailed account statement. The picture becomes clearer. Alexei wasn't just selling cars. He was involved in a scheme involving forged documents. He sold clean cars after serious accidents. Fraud on a particularly large scale, the investigator concludes. Plus desertion, plus document forgery. That's enough for 10 years. But first, he has to be found. The breakthrough comes unexpectedly. Irina Semenova, Alexei's abandoned wife, calls the investigator. "He contacted me. He asked for money." Marina Vasilyevna plays the recording of the conversation. Alexei's voice is nervous and hurried. "Ira, I need help. Urgently, I have problems with my business." "What kind of problems? Where are you?" "It doesn't matter. Transfer 200,000 to my card. I promise I'll pay you back." "I don't have that kind of money, and what guarantee do I have that you'll come back?" The connection is cut off, but experts are already analyzing the recording. Background noise, acoustics, extraneous voices. An hour later, the conclusion is reached. The call was made from a shopping center, most likely in southern Russia. The circle is narrowing. At the same time, the investigation is digging into Alexei's past, military service, the last few months in Chechnya. His fellow soldiers are giving testimony. Sergeant Vladimir Kochetkov, the same one who spoke about his captivity in 2012. "I lied back then. I felt sorry for the woman. Alexei wasn't captured. He deserted." The story becomes clearer. March 2009. The last operation before the withdrawal of troops. Alexei was supposed to guard a checkpoint, but left his position. He disappeared from the unit during the night. "We thought he had been killed. We searched for 3 days. Then the order came to withdraw," says his former company commander. So no one was killed. No one went missing. Alexei simply ran away. But why, a few weeks before demobilization, with a pregnant wife waiting at home? The military prosecutor's office provides the answer. In March 2009, a case was opened against Alexei for theft of military property. The ammunition depot he was guarding had been looted. "He could have gotten 5 to 10 years, explains the military investigator. Apparently, he preferred to disappear. The picture is becoming clear. Alexei is not a hero who died in battle. He is a thief and a deserter who fled from justice. And he hid for 15 years while his wife raised their daughter in poverty. But where is he now? A new lead comes from a taxi service. The driver remembered a passenger who was traveling from the Rostov bus station towards Azov. He paid with large bills and seemed nervous. He asked to be taken to Taganrog, but changed his mind on the way. He got out in Azov at the market. Azov is a small town, so it's easier to check. But Alexei is no longer there. However, there is a witness. Fish seller Tamara Petrovna. He bought some mackerel. He asked how to get to the station. He said he was going to visit relatives in Krasnodar. A false lead, or the real direction? Kovaleva decides to take a risk. Her colleagues in Krasnodar receive the information. Alexei's photo is sent to all traffic police posts. A day later, a message arrives. The suspect has been detained at a gas station near Kropotkin. He was trying to buy a bus ticket to Mineralny Vody. Alexei Morozov is arrested. He is taken to Krasnodar, then transferred to Pskov. Elena learns of his arrest from the investigator. How does he look? She asks. He's aged. He's lost weight. He says he'll explain everything. Elena wants to see her husband, but the investigator dissuades her. It's too early. Let him give his testimony. The first interrogation lasts 6 hours. Alexei sits in a detention center, dressed in a prison uniform. 15 years of freedom are over. I didn't want to deceive anyone, he tells the investigator. But you did deceive people. For 15 years. Your wife, your daughter, your new family. The circumstances were such that... What circumstances? Tell me everything from the beginning. Alexei sighs. He realizes that there is no point in lying anymore. The truth will come out anyway. And so he tells his story. The story begins in February 2009. Alexei was guarding an ammunition depot in Grozny. His pay was being held up, and his pregnant wife was waiting for him at home. His parents were ill and needed medicine. A colleague offered him a side job. Take out a few boxes of ammunition and sell them on the black market. The army writes everything off anyway. Alexei agreed. The first time, he made 10,000 rubles. The second operation brought in 20,000. By March, he had taken $500,000 worth of goods. But someone reported him. An investigation began. Alexei faced a court-martial in prison. I was scared, he admits to the investigator. I thought, better to disappear than go to jail. On March 3, 2009, he left his unit. He threw his uniform, documents, and weapons into the river. He made it to Vladikavkaz, and from there to Sochi. There he met a local authority named Artur Makurchan, who helped him with his documents, a certificate of memory loss, a new passport, a clean biography. What about your wife, your daughter? Kovaleva asks. I wanted to go back, honestly, as soon as the situation calmed down. 15 years? Time passed. I got used to my new life. I met Irina. And you lied to her too. I didn't want to lose her. The investigator shakes her head. 20 years on the job, and she has never encountered such cynicism. Do you understand that your daughter grew up without a father? That your wife considered herself a widow? I understand. But I couldn't. What couldn't you do? Confess? Come back, at least write a letter? Alexei is silent. What can he say? That he is a coward, that his own peace of mind is more important than his family. The testimony is recorded. The protocol is signed. Alexei returns to his cell. The investigator calls Elena. He confessed. He deserted because of a criminal case. He was in hiding for 15 years. That's all? He just got scared? Not everything. There are some details. We'll continue the interrogation tomorrow. Elena hangs up the phone. Elisa is doing her homework in the next room. How can she explain to her daughter that her father is not a hero, but a criminal? But the main question is different. Why? Why was fear stronger than love? Why did Alexei choose to run away instead of staying with his family? The next day, the interrogation continues. Alexei talks about his life in Sochi. The first years were difficult. He worked as a loader and washed dishes in restaurants. His documents were fake, and he had no special skills. Then he met some car dealers. It was a lucrative but risky business. Cars after accidents, fake documents, gray schemes. By 2015, things were going better. Alexei rented an apartment and bought a car. He started dating women. "Why didn't you get married officially?" asks the investigator. "The documents are fake. I was afraid of checks." "What did you tell Irina?" "That I was divorced, that my ex-wife wouldn't let me see my child." Lies upon lies, 15 years of deception. In 2019, Alexei met Irina. She was beautiful, kind, and fell sincerely in love. She believed the story about his dead wife. "I wanted to start a new life," Alexei explains. "To forget the past." "And what about your real family?" "I thought they had forgotten long ago, that they had made a life without me." The cynicism is overwhelming. The investigator can barely contain himself. "Did you follow your wife? Did you know how she was living?" "No, I didn't want to know." "And when you saw on Instagram that your wife had found your profile?" "I realized it was over. It was time to disappear again." "And you disappeared. You abandoned Irina and your child." "I didn't want to, but I had no choice." Alexei is taken into custody. He faces a serious sentence: desertion, fraud, document forgery, at least 8 years in prison. But Elena isn't thinking about punishment. She's thinking about motives. Why did her husband choose to disappear? Was his love for his family really that weak, or is there something else? The answer shocks even an investigator with 20 years of experience. On the third day of questioning, Alexei finally breaks down. He reveals what he had been hiding, even from himself. The story turns out to be more terrifying than it seemed. Why did he do it? The truth turned out to be more terrifying. Part 3. The Price of Cowardice. The third day of interrogations. Alexei Morozov sits in a detention center, broken and devastated. 15 years of lies collapse like a house of cards. Investigator Kovaleva prepares her final questions. The case is almost closed, but something is bothering her. There are too many contradictions in the testimony. Alexei Vladimirovich, you claim that you deserted because you were afraid of the tribunal? Yes. But according to the documents, the maximum sentence was 3 years. In 15 years, you would have served 5 such sentences. Alexei is silent. His hands are shaking. Besides, you had the opportunity to negotiate. Return some of what you stole and get a suspended sentence. Why go to such extremes? A long pause. Alexei stares at the floor. There was another reason, he finally whispers. The investigator turns on the tape recorder. Go on. I didn't want a child. The words fall into the silence like stones into water. Kovaleva can't believe her ears. Repeat that. I didn't want a child. I never did. When Lena got pregnant, I was scared. I realized I wasn't ready to be a father. The truth turns out to be worse than any crime. Alexei didn't just run away from justice. He ran away from fatherhood. In your letters, you wrote to your wife that you missed her and wanted to see your child. I lied. I thought I had to write that. But I prayed that they would kill me, so I wouldn't have to come back. The cynicism is overwhelming. The investigator has been working with criminals for 20 years, but she has never heard anything like this before. So the military was just an excuse? Yes. When the investigation began, I realized it was my chance. I could disappear forever, and no one would look for me. And if there had been no investigation, I would have found another way. I would have faked an illness or an injury, anything, just so I didn't have to go home. Alexei continues his story. He talks about how happy he was when he found out he was listed as dead. He talks about how he imagined his wife receiving the funeral notice. He talks about how he hoped she would quickly find another man. And your daughter? Did you think about your daughter? I tried not to think about her. I told myself she would find a stepfather. She would be happier without me. 15 years you didn't care about their fate? I was afraid to find out. What if they were suffering? Then I would have had to go back. Pure selfishness. Alexei chose his own peace of mind over responsibility. And when you met Irina, you didn't want children either? I did. By the time I was 35, I had changed. I realized I was ready for a family. But you already had a family. That family was a mistake of my youth. With Irina, it's real. The investigator can barely contain her anger. She has never encountered such cynicism before. The testimony is recorded in full. Alexei signs the protocol with a trembling hand. He understands that now it's not just prison that awaits him. Now the whole world will know the truth, and the truth is monstrous. A father ran away from his own child. Elena learns about the latest testimony from the investigator over the phone. She is silent for a long time, digesting the information. So he just didn't want to be a father? Yes. Everything else is just excuses. And he lived peacefully for 15 years? Until he met Irina, yes. Elena hangs up the phone. No tears come. The pain is too deep for tears. Alice is doing her homework in the next room. She is 15 years old. That's how long it's been since her father disappeared. Her whole life is the time her father hid from her. Alice, come here. Elena calls to her daughter. The girl sits down next to her mother. She looks so much like her father. The same eyes, the same stubborn chin. I need to tell you the truth about your father. Elena speaks softly but honestly about his cowardice, his escape, his unwillingness to be a father. Alice listens silently, her eyes growing wider. So he didn't want me to be born? He was young, stupid, afraid of responsibility. What will happen now? Court and prison, justice. Alice hugs her mother. 2 women betrayed by 1 man, but they are strong. They will survive this too. Meanwhile, the investigation is coming to an end. Alexei is charged with the following offenses. Desertion, Article 338 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. Fraud, on a particularly large scale, Article 159 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. Forgery of documents, Article 327 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. Evasion of alimony payments, Article 157 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. Total sentence, 10 to 15 years imprisonment. The state-appointed defense attorney tries to find mitigating circumstances. But there are none. Alexei committed crimes for 15 years in a row, consciously and methodically. The case is sent to court, Pskov District Court. The courtroom is packed with journalists and curious onlookers. The story of the resurrected soldier has spread throughout the country. Judge Peter Ivanovich Sokolov, an experienced lawyer approaching retirement age, studies the case files. In 30 years of work, he has seen it all, but this case is special. Elena sits in the courtroom on the side of the victims. 15-year-old Elisa is next to her. The girl insisted on attending the trial. I want to look him in the eyes, she told her mother. On the other side of the courtroom is Irina Semenova with 3-year-old Maxim. She's also a victim, also deceived. Alexei is led into the courtroom in handcuffs. He is wearing a prison uniform, his face unshaven, his eyes dull. There is no trace left of the former handsome officer. He looks at Elena and Elisa. His daughter is meeting his gaze for the first time in her life. She does not look away, studying her father's face. Alexei is the first to lower his head. The judge reads out the indictment. The list of crimes is long and detailed. Each item means years in prison. Defendant, do you admit your guilt? I admit it, Alexei replies quietly. The interrogation begins. The prosecutor, a young woman of about 30, methodically goes through each crime. Tell the court about your motives for desertion. I was afraid of criminal responsibility, and I didn't want to go back to my family. There is noise in the courtroom. Alice squeezes her mother's hand. Explain that last sentence. I wasn't ready to be a father. I thought my wife and child would be better off without me. But you didn't give them a choice. You just disappeared. Yes. For 15 years, your wife considered herself a widow. Your daughter grew up without a father. How do you explain that? I can't. I was a coward. The prosecutor reads out the character references. Elena is a teacher with an impeccable reputation who raised her daughter alone, sacrificing her own happiness. Alice is an excellent student, an academic prize winner who dreams of becoming a doctor. And what have you been doing for the past 15 years? Living for myself, having fun, making money. By legal means. Not always. The interrogation lasts 3 hours. Every question is a blow to the defense. By the end of the day, it is clear that there are no mitigating circumstances. The next day, the victims are given the floor. Elena steps up to the microphone. She speaks quietly but firmly. I waited 15 years for my husband. I refused to have relationships with other men. I raised my daughter alone, working 2 jobs. We lived in poverty, but I believe that my husband was a hero who died for his country. Her voice trembles, but Elena continues. Meanwhile, he was living in Sochi. He was having fun with women. He was starting a new family. He lied to other people. And he never once thought about us. Alexei sits with his head bowed. I'm not asking for a harsh punishment. I'm asking for justice. Let him answer for every day he stole from our family. Elena sits down. The courtroom is silent. Now it's Elisa's turn. The 15-year-old girl looks older than her age. Her gaze is serious, mature. I've dreamed about my dad my whole life, she says into the microphone. I fantasized about how he would come back, how we would be together. I wore his last name with pride. Her voice becomes firmer. Now I know the truth. My father is a coward and a traitor. He chose escape over love, selfishness over responsibility. Elisa looks straight at Alexei. I don't want to bear your surname. I'm going to change it to my mother's, and I never want to see you again. Alexei sobs. For the first time during the trial, he shows emotion. Irina Semenova is given the floor. The young woman cries, holding her 3-year-old son in her arms. He deceived me too. He said he was a widower, that his first wife had died. I believed him, fell in love, and had a child. Irina wipes away her tears. When the investigation began, he just disappeared, just like 15 years ago. He left us without money, without explanation. My son asks, where is his father? What should I tell him? The defense attorney is the last to speak. He tries to find at least some mitigating circumstances. My client has admitted his guilt and repented. He asks for forgiveness from the family. He is ready to compensate for the moral damage. But the arguments are weak. 15 years of deliberate deception cannot be atoned for with repentance. The judge retires to deliberate. The courtroom waits 2 hours for the verdict. When Sokolov returns, his face is stern. Defendant, stand up. Alexei stands up. His hands are shaking. Having examined the case materials and heard the parties, the court has come to the conclusion that the defendant's guilt has been proven beyond reasonable doubt. The judge reads out the sentence for each charge. Under Article 338 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, 2 years imprisonment. Under Article 159 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, 6 years imprisonment. Under Article 327 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, 1 year's imprisonment. Under Article 157 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, 1 year's imprisonment. Pause. The courtroom falls silent. For the totality of the crimes, Alexei Vladimirovich Morozov is sentenced to 12 years imprisonment in a strict regime penal colony. The gavel falls. The verdict is final. Alexei slumps down on the bench. 12 years. He will be released at the age of 56. In addition, the judge continued, the defendant shall pay Elena Alexandrovna Morozova compensation for moral damages in the amount of 1 million rubles. Irina Viktorovna Semenova shall receive 500,000 rubles in compensation. To the state, 2 million rubles for damages resulting from desertion and fraud. Total amount, 3.5 million. Alexei doesn't have that kind of money. He'll have to work it off in prison. The sentence is read. The guards put handcuffs on him. Alexei turns to his family one last time. Elena looks at him without anger, only with pity. Alisa turns away. Mom, let's go home, says the girl. They leave the courtroom without looking back. Alexei is taken away to prison. 12 years of thinking about the price of cowardice. A month later, Elena files papers to change her daughter's last name. Alisa becomes Morozova Svetlova. A new last name, a new life. Irina and her son move in with her parents in Voronezh. She starts her life over. She tells Maxim that his dad went far, far away. And in a maximum security prison, Alexei Morozov thinks about one thing every day. What would have happened if he hadn't been afraid of fatherhood 15 years ago? But time cannot be turned back. The choice has been made. The price has been paid. Justice has prevailed. Elena receives insurance from the Ministry of Defense, compensation for her deceased husband, which she had not claimed for 15 years, 500,000 rubles. With this money, Alisa enrolls in medical school. I'm going to be a pediatrician, she tells her mother. I'm going to treat children who have been abandoned by their fathers. Every story has a moral. The moral of this story is simple. Cowardice comes at a high price, and love and loyalty always triumph over lies. Elena waited 15 years for her husband. She raised her daughter alone for 15 years. She believed in love for 15 years, and not in vain. Justice has been served. Late, but it has come. What do you think? Did Alexei Morozov deserve such punishment, or should leniency have been shown to a man who was simply afraid of responsibility?